throughout the County of Los Angeles with little regard to jurisdictional borders, focusing on those areas most in need. We distributed food, we gave out millions in grants to small businesses, to restaurants, local entrepreneurs. With this funding, ARP, however, every city in the county is receiving an allocation of funding. So for example, the city of LA will receive about $1.3 billion. How will we ensure that our ARP funds are deployed strategically in line with what cities are offering their residents?
Yes, thank you for that, Supervisor. And as you correctly pointed out, under ARP, all cities in the County of Los Angeles has received ARP funding, and the City of Los Angeles did receive approximately $1.3 billion. Now, what we've done in the past under CRF is when we were using CARES Act funding, we wanted to make sure that our service delivery level was aligned and complementary to services that were provided in the city. So for example, the City of Los Angeles had a rent relief program, and we also had a rent relief program. And therefore, in implementing our rent relief program, it was not open to residents of the City of Los Angeles because they had their own rent relief program. We hope to be able to maintain that practice where it makes sense. And so what we will have to do is work with departments and look at what the City of Los Angeles and some of the other cities to see what programming they are offering so that there isn't wholly redundant crossover between what we're offering and what they are offering.
Okay, and I have a couple of other questions, Fezia. One is, how will the county ensure that whatever data we use will in fact help us identify the populations that are most in need?
Yes, thank you for that, Supervisor. So that goes back to my earlier comments regarding the data and the metrics. So we have for a very long time in the county have data related to, poverty levels, demographics, age, family size, income levels, etc. I think at this point we need to go deeper. And so what we will need to do is to make sure that one, our metrics that we are looking at and the data that we are looking at is appropriate and has a close nexus to the program. So for example, if we are providing a program related to, let's say, tenant eviction, then we would want to also not just look at poverty levels and household size. We would also want to look at our eviction hotspots in the county. We know that we have them and that they exist. The second thing that we would also want to look at, Supervisor, is the other things that made it and is making it more difficult for some of our communities to recover from the pandemic, because we know that they suffered from concentrated disadvantage even before the pandemic. And so we want to look at things like job insecurity, communities that have a lot of essential workers, communities where there is a very close living density, very high density in terms of living quarters. Now, I know that all of those matrix seem random, but they will be applicable to probably one of the over 80 programs that we will be deploying under ARP. And so it's incumbent upon Dr. Scorza of the Anti-Racism, Diversity, and Inclusion Initiative to make sure that he's working with those departments to ensure that we are honing in on the relevant and the applicable metrics.
Okay, just two more questions. One is, how will the ARP spending plan that includes $100 million to create permanent and interim housing be utilized? Are we looking at identifying shovel-ready projects, given the incredible urgency to house people experiencing homelessness? And can you confirm that the funding will be used for shovel-ready projects that get residents housed quickly?
Thank you for that question, Supervisor. So you are correct. We have two, besides all of the ARP funding that we put into the plan, or we're proposing in the plan for homelessness, we have two specific proposed allocations One, to create interim and permanent supportive housing. That's about $100 million. And then there's about another $50 million in one-time capital construction costs, basically relating to housing as well for in the healthcare area, in alternatives to incarceration and other safety net services. So we have not identified specific allocations for those funds as of yet. And what our plan is to do the following. In this regard, we want to take a holistic approach, and we want to look at the funds available from tranche 1 as well as tranche 2. What that means is we will be working with each of your offices to identify what is the total amount of funding that the board would want to put into these 2 buckets of funding. Once we've done that, we are also working with each of your offices to identify projects that are in the works. But because we know that this is one-time funding, because we know that it is time limited and it must at least be encumbered by a certain date, one of the weightier considerations that we will have to look at are projects that are shovel ready, or put another way, projects that are ready for implementation, but for the lack of funding. And so we will be working with each of your offices to compile that list. We have also enlisted the aid of our asset management branch, and we have asked them to basically come up with a matrix for us for things that we should be looking at when we review the list of projects that we receive from each of your offices, but to re-emphasize whether a project is shovel ready. That is one of the weightier concerns that we will weigh against several other factors.
Okay, and then just lastly, Fezia, would you please confirm whether undocumented residents will be eligible to participate in the various grant opportunities funded by ARP?
Thank you, Supervisor. That is correct. That is our understanding. We've been working very closely with County Council, and up to this point, we have not seen anything in the ARP language or the interim final rules that references in any way undocumented residents. And to the extent that we don't see that prohibition, the only thing that would be in play is for a person to apply for a particular program and then meet the eligibility requirements.
Right. Okay. Very good. We did have a lot of questions about that today. Thank you so much for your presentation. I have in the queue Catherine Barger and then Janice Hahn. So Catherine, go ahead.
Thank you. And I just want to thank you, Fezia, and your COO, Joe Nikita, and actually the entire budget staff from the CEO's office and county departments who worked hard to put together this really vitally important spending plan. And I'm not going to go through all the priorities that I see in here that I think are really going to be beneficial to the constituents of LA County. And the use of this money, I think Supervisor Mitchell said it, we're actually reinvesting in the community to the very people who have been so greatly impacted by COVID. So I'm really proud of this document. I think this reflects the priorities and the vision of this board. And I am really honored to be able to vote today in support of the plan moving forward. So I just wanted to personally thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Next, recognize Supervisor Hahn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yeah, thanks to our CEO and to her team, Joe Nikita, Matthew McGloin, for working so diligently with my staff, my office to, talk about these funds and where we need to put them most. Thank you for this overview. This is about $1 billion that LA County is set to receive from the American Rescue Plan. And it's really to help us offset some of the consequences that we face as a result of this pandemic, which we're still in. And we really continue to need to acknowledge what a big blow this virus has been to our county, its residents, and the continuing fallout has just dealt a bad deck of cards to so many residents in this county. Workers have lost their jobs. Small businesses have been shuttered, many for good. You know, a lot of people know that in their own districts, there are businesses that just didn't make it. They could not survive. Tenants and mom and pop landlords have struggled to make rent and pay mortgages. Food, building supplies, utilities all continue to rise. And people are still struggling and still having a hard time making ends meet. And these funds are meant to help these struggling businesses, individuals, families. We're going to be providing relief from housing assistance, workforce development, increased internet access for children in our disadvantaged communities. These funds will also jumpstart our economic recovery by helping our businesses reopen their doors to the public and do it safely. I'm really happy to see that all of our county departments have come together to develop a framework for getting this $1 billion aid package rolled out in the smartest and fairest way possible. And I know we're going to be even planning for the next phase, the second tranche of the American Rescue Plan, which is designed to help improve our healthcare infrastructure and prepare us for future pandemics, which I feel we will probably face. And I just wanted to throw out at that point, Feezy, I know I talked to you, and you know we have a public health lab that clearly I think has been sort of the epicenter of this pandemic. I think that lab is more important going forward, and it needs expansion. It needs a lot of work. Our public health employees have been talking to us about that particular lab and how important it would be for the county to make it cutting edge and being able to access the newest technology to help us as we face our ongoing public health challenges. So you don't have to answer that, Feezy. I talked to you about that before, but I do hope that specifically that next tranche, we can look at that type of infrastructure, which I think will be critical for the county moving forward for years to come, is to have our own lab really cutting edge and modern. So thank you all for working on this. Appreciate us, the federal government, really doing this for all of us and taking into account how many people have suffered through no fault of their own through this horrendous pandemic. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next, we'll recognize Supervisor Sheila Kuehl.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'll bat cleanup here. And first, I'd like to praise the federal government for getting this money out the door. What a breath of fresh air to actually use tax dollars to help people who need it. But Feezy, thank you and your staff for the truly collaborative process to ensure that the ARP dollars will be allocated fairly and equitably. We have a lot of demands. They clearly surpass our needs. And I know it wasn't an easy task, but I wanted to commend you and your staff for taking it on and really looking to see that the areas of need are funded. I'm very pleased to see that more than $290 million is being invested in direct community investments and partnerships with community-based organizations. These are the hearts of our community in terms of taking care of the very people that the county is tasked with protecting. And additionally, another $468 million proposed for housing and related prevention and intervention services for people experiencing homelessness. That is putting our money where our mouth is. Also, of course, want to highlight a few of my key priorities that I am delighted to see funded in the proposed plan. Over $21 million for arts and the creative economy, which is critical because oftentimes we do not recognize the importance of arts as a way of healing. And that is an aspect of it, not only because there's so many jobs in the county related to the creative economy, but the good that it does in terms of what is created. Also, childcare, a top priority. Pleased to see $16 million committed to childcare provider grants and a child care incubator program. Very important to have a training institute for individuals, primarily women and disadvantaged groups, to launch child care provider businesses. Domestic violence, we've talked about a lot, impacts women disproportionately. And with COVID requiring quarantine, many women had little opportunity to escape their abusers. So I'm pleased to see an allocation to support CBOs that provide domestic violence shelter based and social services programs, and also for DV experts from CBOs to be stationed at our DCFS hotline to provide support in cases involving domestic violence. 12 million for the first year of eviction defense, which we're now calling Stay Housed LA. Uh, great, a great partnership between the county, local CBOs, and legal services providers to ensure that tenants get legal services. We're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel a little bit, but food insecurity was a great area of need, unrecognized before the pandemic, and continues to be an area of need. So the proposed spending of almost 41 million for food security, food delivery services to seniors, grocery food vouchers, community food resource grants, very, very important. The Guaranteed Income Pilot Program, a great investment for the first year. As you know, we've discussed this a couple times in the board meetings, the program to support emancipated foster youth, Black single mothers living in poverty, essential workers and low wage jobs. This is such an important new program, and I'm really excited to see it kick off here in the county. Also, our community based organizations are the safety net for so many of our community members, but they're struggling to keep their doors open. So I'm glad to see an investment of 15 million to provide grants to nonprofit organizations to assist in their recovery. I also want to put in a plug, as some of my colleagues have, for some things I hope we'll consider identifying funding for as we go along. First, as you know, there is a county hospital in each of the other 4 districts, but not in the 3rd. And we're hoping that the North Hollywood Integrated Health Center capital project might be considered to be funded with capital programs designated ARP dollars. It would be the first county health center built from the ground up with a vision of providing really integrated care model with staff from all 3 of our health departments, also located in a high needs community with limited access to health care. Secondly, I really hope that ARP funds can be identified for the West LA Armory Capital Project, which creates 167 new interim housing beds for adults experiencing homelessness in SPA 5. The 2020 homeless count identifies SPA 5 as having the largest percentage of unsheltered individuals in the county. So I hope we can ensure that we support those most vulnerable individuals and see if we can get that capital project off the ground, or as we might say, on the ground. Certainly don't want to forget about the importance of our environment, the county's sustainability plan. So I do hope that funding our clean green energy, clean green economy, job training, and workforce development will be considered in the second round. Lastly, but certainly not least, the work that the Alternatives to Incarceration initiative is accomplishing is critical, not only in terms of social justice, but also as we recover from the pandemic. So I urge our talented CEO to find any other funding options, reconsider ARP in the second round for the expansion of pre-filing and pre-arrest diversion, and the expansion of the incubation academy. So I'm really happy to see this first round of ARP dollars ready to go out the door, be invested in our communities through an equity formula that does target the areas of most need. I know we have more needs than we do dollars, but these funds will make a huge dent. And I thank you very much for the opportunity to be a part of it and to share my thoughts about it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Kuehl. Hearing no other comments, item 52F is before us, moved by Supervisor Mitchell, seconded by myself to approve the item. Madam Executive Officer, please call the roll.
Item 52F is before you. Supervisor Mitchell.
Aye.
Supervisor Mitchell, aye. Supervisor Kuehl.
Aye.
Supervisor Kuehl, aye. Supervisor Hahn.
Aye.
Supervisor Hahn, aye. Supervisor Barger.
Aye.
Supervisor Barger, aye. Supervisor Solis.
Aye.
Supervisor Solis, aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation to our CEO and her staff and all the department heads. Thank you. Members, we don't have any specials today, I understand, so we're going to move right along. We're going to go to adjournments. It would be appropriate to hear adjournments now. We'll begin with Supervisor Barger. Supervisor Barger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that when we adjourn today, we do so in memory of Thomas Albert, a longtime resident of Santa Clarita who passed away at the age of 79. Tom was born in New Brunswick, Canada, and was raised in Maine. Tom moved to California after high school to attend college. He proudly served in the United States Navy for 2 years, after which he had a long career working as a real estate appraiser. Tom volunteered in soccer and scouting and was a devoted parishioner of St. Clair of Assisi Church and a member of the Knights of Columbus. Tom is survived by his wife, Diane, his daughter, Andrea, and his son, Jeffrey. Also, that we adjourn in memory of Larry Leonard Cash, who passed away on July 2nd at the age of 80. Larry served in the United States Army as a computer engineering technician for 4 years with honorable discharge in 1970. The Cash family later relocated to Pasadena in 1970, where Larry embarked on his teaching career at John Muir High School. During his distinguished 30-plus years in education, Larry instructed students in the areas of electronics, drafting, auto mechanics, math, and physical education. His highlight of the John Muir experience was his love of being a coach and a nominee for the Los Angeles Coach of the Year. Numerous young individuals, students, and his own family members have been inspired, encouraged, and touched by Larry's care and concern for making a significant positive impact in their lives. He was an active member of the Pasadena Church of Christ, where he loved reading his Sunday morning devotions and attending weekly Bible study. Larry Cash is survived by his wife of 53 years, Nancy, his 4 children, and 6 grandchildren. Also, that we adjourn in memory of Anne Crescent, an environmental activist, educator, and preservationist who recently passed away at the age of 81. The daughter of 2 teachers, Anne grew up in eastern Kentucky. She earned a bachelor's degree from Northern Colorado University in biology and earth science, and a master's in botany from the University of Wisconsin, and a PhD from the University of Southern California. She spent most of her time in Glendora, close to her beloved San Gabriel Mountains. She taught at Cal Poly Pomona, Mount San Antonio College, and Azusa Pacific University, and served as a science curriculum consultant in local schools. Anne discovered a rare blue-violet wildflower known as the threadleaf brodiahia in the foothills of Glendora. It became the official flower of the city of Glendora, and Anne formed the Glendora Community Conservancy and the San Gabriel Mountains Regional Conservancy. Her efforts led to the conservation of 700 hillside acres. She also developed management plans for the San Gabriel Mountain National Monument, established by President Barack Obama in 2014. She received numerous accolades, including the Humanitarian Award for the Glendora Community Coordinating Council in 2012. She's survived by her husband, Gerald, her daughters, Polly and Carol, and her son, Brian. Also, that we adjourn in memory of Larry Hull, who passed away at the age of 91. He was raised in Newport, Oregon, and graduated from Newport High School and then attended the University of Oregon. He played football and competed in the 1949 Cotton Bowl. He graduated with a degree in business administration and finance. After college, he joined the Air Force and flew combat missions during the Korean War. Larry remained in the Air Force Reserves following active duty and flew missions in Vietnam as well. He retired from the Air Force at the rank of colonel and was Western Regional Commander for the Air Force Reserves. Larry went on to have a successful career in the securities industry and helped to develop real estate as an asset class for the public pension industry. He is survived by his son, Howard III, his daughters, Adrian and Angela, his 2 sisters, and 4 grandchildren. Also, that we adjourn in memory of Frank Ponett, a longtime resident of Alhambra. He was born in 1954 and taught at Our Lady of Loretto, Mayfield Senior School, and a few local Catholic high schools. He dedicated his life to educating and serving others. Frank and his wife Dawn were longtime congregants of South Pasadena's Holy Family Catholic Church. He committed himself fully to the ministry in 1984 when he took the role of Holy Family's Director of Liturgy and Adult Education. He became an invaluable teacher to those in the community and to the congregation. Frank embodied a Christ-like spirit of grace and compassion toward everyone. He exemplified servant leadership and had a kind and gentle heart. He served his family and his church with dedication and humility throughout his years, and he will be deeply missed. He's survived by his wife Dawn and their two children, Luke and Stacy. Also, that we adjourn in memory of Charlie Robinson, a Castaic resident and a veteran actor who's best known for his role as Mac on the long-running NBC sitcom Night Court, who passed away on Sunday. He was 75. Born in Houston, Charlie served in the Army and briefly attended the University of Houston before leaving to pursue an acting career. He eventually moved to Los Angeles, where he studied at the Actors Studio and Mark Taper Forum and the Inner City Cultural Center. His acting career spanned 6 decades and included roles in television and film and on stage. In 1984, he was cast in his most well-known Mac Robinson, the good-natured and pragmatic court clerk on Night Court. In addition to Night Court, Charlie was seen in many TV shows, including The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Key and Peele, This Is Us, Malcolm and Eddie, Grey's Anatomy, and How I Met Your Mother, and NCIS. Charlie won the 2006 Ovation Award for Best Actor in a Play for his performance as Troy Maxon in a production of August Wilson's Fences at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. He's survived by his wife, Dolorita, his children, Lucy, Charlie, Christian, and Byron, his brother Virgil, and several grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Also, we adjourn in memory of Dora Zavala, a longtime resident of Stevenson Ranch. She was born and raised in Barstow, and after a short time in Orange County, she moved to Stevenson Ranch in 1998. She was a beloved community volunteer, and she was a member of the Seroptimus of Greater Santa Clarita Valley and a district director of Seroptimus International. She spent 35 years in the grocery industry and was an active member of the Santa Clarita Valley Chamber of Commerce and its Latino Business Alliance. Dora is survived by her parents, Carlos and Sally, and her 2 daughters, Nicole and Noel. And last, I move that the Board of Supervisors adjourn in memory of the following individuals who were identified as indigent veterans by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner and were subsequently buried with dignity and honor at Riverside National Cemetery in the last month. Cassandra Lucille Banks, the Army; Michael Blackwood, Navy; Stephen Randall Fox, Army; Richard Allen Gellerson, Navy; James Goodman, Army; Nathaniel Hanna, Marine Corps; Veronica Yvette Hurt, Air Force; Shigo Kawasaki, Army; Miles Philip Lieberman, Air Force; Don William Lynch, Navy; Thomas A. Noble, Marine Corps; Frank Joseph Ordo, Navy; Lawrence Owens, Air Force; Daniel Martin Peso, Navy; Gerald Wayne Tompkin, Army; Ralph Richard Wawrinski, Army; Joseph Zavala, Army. May their contributions and sacrifices in service to our country never be forgotten. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, I will go next. I move that when we adjourn today, we adjourn in memory of Adam Robert Morales. He resided in the city of Monterey Park and graduated from Loyola High School in 2019. He pursued higher education and was attending Loyola Marymount University while also working part-time as a package sorter at UPS. Adam was a dedicated student, but still found time to volunteer in his community. He volunteered at food banks, at toy drives to provide children with toys during the holidays, and even shaved his hair off to support children with cancer. Adam will always be remembered for his maturity, generosity, and integrity. He was a young man of many virtues whose respect for his family, community, school, and work transcends his own life and can serve as a model for many other youth. Adam was a beloved son, grandson, nephew, and cousin. He's survived by his mother, Elaine, his grandparents, Robert and Francis, and a host of extended family members and pets who will miss him dearly. May he rest in peace. Secondly, I move that when we adjourn today, we adjourn in memory of Rosemary Solis. She was my high school classmate at La Puente High School and served for over 20 years with the County Department of Public Social Services. Rosemary was a longtime resident of La Puente and loved spending time with her family and grandchildren. She'll be remembered for her kindness and commitment to her community and family. Rosemary is survived by her partner, Jose, her sons Art, Nicholas, Christian, and Alex, her three grandchildren. May she rest in peace. Next, I'll recognize Supervisor Mitchell for her adjournments.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Colleagues, I'm going to ask that we adjourn in memory today of two 2nd District residents. And ironically, both of them were a part of what's come to be known as the Great Migration, when African Americans migrated from southern states west to Los Angeles in the mid-50s. And both of these gentlemen that we'll be adjourning in memory of today were a part of that. First is Mr. Alford Carson, who passed away June 27th at the age of 82. He was born in 1938 in Hooks, Texas, where he graduated as salutatorian of his high school class. He moved to LA in 1958, where he resided in the 2nd District.